Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who was a great doctor. Any of you read her books? Okay, she's a great doctor, and she talked about death and dying a lot because she worked with patients that were dying, and she talked about the 5 stages, most of the 5 stages that people go through after somebody they love has left. And the first one will be denial. Can't be happening to me. No, this can't be happening. This can't be happening. And then anger. How dare you leave me? And I felt that coming up. Did you feel that? Anybody? How dare you? Did anybody feel the anger? But I caught it because I knew. That's what knowledge does for you. When you know, then you look at the anger and you go, I don't need this emotion, it's just going to make me worse. I take the anger and, with the yogic practices, I could say, no, I'm not going down that road. It just makes my children more miserable and everybody more miserable. I'm not doing it to them. And so, anger, you get so angry. How can this be happening? What's life all about? There's a God how dare you, God? And you get angry with God, and then you blame somebody else, and you blame somebody else because they caused that, and that's all the doctors and everybody will get blamed. And in your mind, you blame yourself as well. You're angry with yourself. How could I let this happen? As if it's had anything to do with any of us. We have zero control. Zero control. So then comes after the anger, because you can't live with that anger, it's too harsh. When people live with that anger, it's too harsh for them. It's too hard. It really is the worst stage. For me, worse than any of the other stages. Because that anger makes, they don't get better. And then the next stage is bargaining. And it's interesting. You make prayers, you bargain with the divine. You say, whoever, and if you don't believe in a God, you bargain with life. You say, please bring the person back, and like a child, I'll be good, I'll be kind, I'll do all the good things. Like a child, we suddenly become like children, the bargaining. Please, I won't do this again, I'll make sure that this doesn't happen. You can bargain as much as you want, and the person's not going to come back. And you think they are. I remember getting up in the middle of the night and going like this, and panic, and only take a deep breath, sit up, meditate, it's gone. Oh, hearing a voice at the door, he's back. Because you don't believe. And you think, if you bargain enough and you pray enough, that person's going to walk through the door. You're going to hear the voice. They're going to come to you and talk to you. And then everything's okay. Sorry, doesn't happen. And why doesn't it happen? Because I have learned that when we're in dark pain, guilt, fear, worry, we shut off the connection to the divine energy. So these souls have left the body. They can't get through to us because we're shut off. We're in such a dark place. And if they're in a bright place, they can't get to us because we're dark. Our vibration is too low. Now, what can we get in touch with? The negative energies. We can get in touch with the low souls that are not in a dark place themselves. And those low souls that in a dark place when they died, they call them the ghosts, whatever. They are attracted to that negative energy. So they feed off your negative energy. So you don't want to go there, okay? Stay in the pain and elevate yourself, but don't go into dark zones. So that's why people say, but I thought I would hear. We can't. We blocked ourselves out. And I'll tell you an experience because 6 weeks after a death, the first 6 weeks are the worst time you'll ever face. And I knew that, again, through working with people. And what happened was, after 6 weeks, the pain was so intense for me. I was living alone for the first time in my life. I've never lived alone, in a little apartment which my son helped me put together because I needed that little space to heal. And so I not only had to deal with living alone, dealing with accounts alone. I didn't drive. I suddenly bought a car and had to drive alone because I wasn't going to trouble my kids for every little bit. So I had all this to deal with, and the loss of my husband. After 6 weeks, I just woke up one morning and I just cried my eyes out. And then I remembered, I'm pulling down his soul. I can't do this to him. So then I made a bargain. I bargained with the Lord. I did actually this time, but in a different way. It wasn't selfish anymore. I said, God, I only want one thing from you. One thing. And then I promise I won't be horrible and cry my eyes out again like this. I said, I just want to know if my husband is happy and his body is free and he's good. He's good. I just need, if I know that, I can get through this. So that was my feeling. God, just make him well. I don't want to drag him down. I don't want to stop his growth, his peace. I know he's in a good place, but my mind, my physical body, because I'm missing him, is not understanding it. I need to know spiritually that he's okay. So I go into my bathroom, my tiny little bathroom, and suddenly the whole room is filled with golden light vibrating like this. That's why I know. Soul's vibrating light, vibrating like this, like this. I just sat there, 20 minutes. I just knew he was light, he was happy. And after that, I could just really understand the only way to connect is in light and not in dark. And after that, of course, then it takes time, the healing process, and you know that. But when you know that, you can do it. But you can't do it if you don't practice and learn about death and dying. You need to, each of us needs to understand about death and dying. Because of all my patients, and God bless them all, or clients that taught me all these things, I read a lot of books about death and dying prior to my own husband's death. And my God, I'm so glad I read so many books, because I used to discuss it. I point to the TV because he's right here. And because I read so many books about death and dying, I used to tell him, we used to go out for dinner and go, oh, this is really interesting. I read Embraced by the Light, and she explains how when she died, this happened. Oh, and I met Anita Morjani, who died and came back to life. I met her in Hong Kong, and blah, 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 blah. And he goes, you're so morbid, always talking about dying. And funny enough, when he was going through the dying process, which was 6 weeks, and he knew he was going to go, he had stage 4 cancer. Thank God it was only 6 weeks of suffering. He was like remembering all the stories that I was telling him and repeating it to me. Don't worry, I'll be fine. I'll always be with you. The words from the song that he wrote when he was 30 years before, he was actually feeling that way at his moment of death. Isn't that quite incredible? So I learned a new lesson. The soul knows. They give us hints. They give us hints on when they're going. Then I also remembered that in the August he was diagnosed October. And all of us, when you meditate a lot, you get very in touch with your instincts, your deep instincts, or what I would call your karmic destiny. You're in touch with your karmic, you know certain things, okay? Now, there were hints. My husband, every time he used to watch a movie and somebody would cough, he would say, they're gonna die. Every time he heard, and I was the one who was the asthmatic, I was the one who always coughed, and he always worried about me dying. I never thought he would die before me, So, of course, what was his signs? He predicted that. That was a hint. In the August of that year, I was sitting down just like this, and suddenly I had a vision. Any of you know, they call it daydreaming, but it isn't. Sometimes it's just a vision, something so kooky and so different. So I had this vision of myself opening up my husband's wardrobe, taking out all his clothes, putting it in bags, and giving it away. The only time I would do that is if he died. He wasn't even diagnosed at that point. All he had was slight backaches and a swollen hand and a cough. Okay? So do you see it prepared me. I remember the image because it was so incredible, and I said to myself, ah! And then you know what you do when you don't like an image? You put it away. So when he was diagnosed, actually that image was really important because it prepared me. It prepared me because I knew that I knew that I knew. And But at the same time, I hoped and still believed that there could be a miracle. But because I knew that I knew that I knew, I could make preparations. So, how hard to talk to somebody you love about their death without falling apart. Very hard, but I knew I had to do that. So we looked at wills, we looked at accounts, we looked at all of this, and I tried not to fall apart because he told the nurse that the only thing he couldn't bear was me crying. Couldn't bear the thought of me crying because of him. So I had to be so strong. I used to cry in the bathroom, not in front of them, smile. Okay, let's prepare that, and and talk about the dying process. And because I'd read all these books, we could really discuss it, so that he didn't have to fear. So that now the focus was on, who am I to think about my fears when it was his death? Do you know what I mean? It was his death. And I'm thinking about, what am I going to do? At night I wouldn't sleep. I think for the 6 weeks I slept maybe 2 hours a night, every night, if that, because the fears, we're normal, we're human. What's going to happen? I've never lived alone. No, it's not your death. Focus on him. What is he feeling? What would he like? What can I do to make his life more comfortable? How can I make him smile every day? How can I talk to him to prepare him? So, and then, I said, then he said to me, Nalanie, today you didn't put on the mantras for me. You know what he used to complain about? I put too many mantras on in the house all the time. So whenever he came home, I used to switch them off. Now he was dying, he wanted me to switch them on. Do you see, something goes through? So whatever you teach your family or your children or whatever, don't think it's in vain. It goes through. And he used to, you and your mantras. All the time at home, and yet at the end he wanted his mantras, my mantras, and he goes, he used to doubt God, the existence of a God, or whatever he thought, and now he realized, he said, when I lose this body, I just wish I could do one more thing. I could go into the cold sea and swim one more time. That's why you saw the picture. We threw his ashes in the water, and I think the video went a bit off at the end, but I don't know if you noticed, a seagull came right to the ashes at that point, and all of us went, wow! Right at the point, to the ashes, and flew up. And we knew it was him. So signs, you learn another thing. Watch out for signs. Because that gives you the idea that, we read about spirituality. It tells us we're never born and we're never going to die. But we think we die when the body dies. And that's a fallacy. We never die. We go into a different form of energy. So that was another sign. And then I told the kids to read the Tibetan book of Living and Dying just prior to his death, a week before. I said, look, I cannot counsel you guys. I really physically have to look after Dad. So read this chapter, Helping the Dying. I don't want you to force him to do anything. If he wants anything, give him anything he wants. He wants a beer, give him a beer. Because that's all he wanted, beer and frozen grapes. So I said, give it to him. Don't deny him anything. And learn how to talk to your dad, etc. So they read the chapter. And in passing that chapter, they said that when somebody dies for 3 days, if that soul is going to a good place, you will see a lovely white mist. Now, I was not there, I don't know where I was, but they walked into our bedroom, both my children, and they saw this beautiful white mist. And I think went to do some detail work, and I came back and go, Mom, Dad was here, and go, I'm happy. We saw him in the mist. So this is where the literature helps as well. Do you see? So now their feeling of this gone forever is not gone forever anymore. So there is now, instead of bargaining, there is a kind of feeling there's nothing to bargain for. It's already there. Do you see what I'm saying? He's already free. It's knowing these things that help you through your pain, help you through your struggles. And they felt really touched, because if they hadn't read the book, they probably wouldn't even have noticed the mist in the room. Do you see what I'm saying? So having the knowledge helps you. So after the bargaining stage, then there is depression. A deep, deep sadness. Now, many people go into personal depression, feeling sorry for themselves and over-grieving. You can do that for 1 month, but after that, try to lift yourself by yourself, because you're not helping anyone. The depression I went through, and it's not really a depression because I didn't go through a depression, but a kind of dark period, I call it, rather than a depression, was existence. I questioned existence. I questioned physical body to the extreme. I questioned, who am I? I saw myself as a puppet. And then I asked myself, what is the point of it all? Which is the question my son asked me. Mom, what is the point of it all if we all, in the end, die? And I looked at him, and he gave me the answer by that question. I said, you are the point of it all. You are the legacy of your father and me. So we don't die. We live in you. Your dad has not died. He's living in you. And that legacy of hope and love, so long as we have our bodies, that's the legacy we must leave behind for the people who are living. Because if we don't leave the legacy of love and hope, then really what will happen to our world? We have to live whether we like it or not, right? So you might as well enjoy living. So then, that was my dark period, the question of existence and God as we know it, and understanding God to be a vibration, light and love. And when you're in that love energy, you can connect with that God. And when you feel the lightness of spirit and forgiveness of what happens, you can feel God. And that's when I realized God was deep within me. And if I wanted to connect with God, I had to let all the pain go. It doesn't mean by letting it go, I was letting my husband go. I was letting my preconceived ideas of all life go into an area that I had no knowledge of, an emptiness or a fullness. Buddha calls it everything and nothing. It was a little scary, but at the same time so enlightening, in the sense that, okay, so we're going to go into this space and time. I'm not going to have the body. So what? Now that I know I'm space and time, what can I do with this body that doesn't belong to me anyway to make my world a better place to be in? And I think this is the only way people can move forward in pain. Service above self, and the Rotary motto, right? Service above self. Live to love, love to serve is the only way you can move forward. Because if you dwell in the sadness and the depression and go deep under and keep asking, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening? I don't know. It's just the way it is. And that's one thing we both, my husband and I, learned to say to each other, because the moment he was diagnosed, right, in the hospital with stage 4 cancer, I just sobbed. And my feeling at that time was a little bit of anger too, at the same, such deep sorrow, but such anger at that split moment, because, I've been telling him for years, please don't eat so much white bread and so much meat. We were two opposites. He was much kinder than I was. He used to say to me, we're a perfect couple. He used to tell everybody, I eat all the meat and she eats all the vegetables. And I would say, I want you to be a vegetarian. Wrong. I should not have judged him. I shouldn't have judged him. I learned such a great thing. But at the end of his life, I did. I just would say, I used to cook for him meat all the time. So that was a great lesson. Truth is one, parts of many. But what I used to tell him, so much heavy meat's not good for you. Then I used to tell him all the time, please exercise. Please exercise. Can't be bothered, computer all day long. Please, exercise is good for you. So my first instinct was to say, you know what I did? We were sitting in the car, just sitting there, both of us slumped, me sobbing, and I zipped my mouth. Thank you, yoga practices. I zipped my mouth. And then he said, I'm so sorry, darling. And I go, no. You can't be sorry. You can't be sorry. I'm sorry. From now on, we're not going to blame. We're not going to say anything. We're just going to say, it is as it is. There's nothing to blame. That's another great lesson I learned. There is nothing to blame. And that's what we kept saying to ourselves every time we felt the fear of losing each other those last 6 weeks, This is scary. He was also scared to lose me. It was both ways, So we just look at each other. It is as it is. And he goes, I'm so glad you have your yoga practices. Took him his death to tell me that. He always thought the yoga practices were taking me away from it. I am so glad that I have the yoga practice. You have to laugh, right? You just have to laugh at the irony of life. We're all here to... And I realized he probably learned his lesson. I had lots of lessons to learn. And it was the perfect time, It's these simple messages you get from each other. But also understand when it's the way it is. And others said, but why? And couldn't the doctors have done that? No, the doctors were brilliant. They did what they could. There's nobody to blame. And some of his family members were calling me, but Nalanie, surely you can do something else. Surely you can do something else. I'm doing my best. I can't do any more than my best. I have no control over it, And that was, and I said, please don't say but to me one more time, because what you're doing to me is so cruel. I told them straight. Leave me alone. I just need to deal with this situation, and I need every single ounce of strength I have. And anybody who's going through the same situation knows exactly what I'm feeling, because I have noticed it is ditto with everybody. We all feel the same emotions. And that made me realize how much I could help others my husband was really sacrificed his life so I could help many more people. And every time somebody thanks me for helping them through a death, I'm in my heart going, thank you, darling. I had to suffer so much pain, but so did you for me to do this work. And then you see that life is just about learning and consequences, and it is as it is. Now we can make use of what we learn in pain as purification to help somebody else and make it a medicine, or we can destroy people with our misery and why me all the time. The choice is ours. That's the only choice we have. There is no other choice. We are all going to die. Some will die with cancer. Some will die in a car accident. Some will die in a motorbike accident. Some will die suddenly with you wouldn't expect it. I know a 9-year-old girl walking in her garden, which she does every day, in an 18-story building, and a pipe happens to fall at that Pacific time at her head at that moment from 18 floors, and it hits her. So, we all have to die. There's no running away from it. So this darkness that I talk about was a shift in consciousness. It was not a bad thing for me. It was a shift in consciousness about the idea of God and love and life. It was a shift in such a deep place in my heart that I quite enjoyed the darkness. In fact, those first few months in La Noria, where I could just watch Friends in the evening to cheer myself up and eat a piece of barrivita, were kind of the most greatest learning moments in my life, and I looked upon it that way. I looked upon my pain as a teacher and not a punishment. Do you see? It's a teacher. I have to live. So what do I have to do? I realize if I did not heal, my family would not heal, my grandchildren would not heal, and they didn't deserve it because of me. They all had their families. I just needed to sort myself out. And this is what I tell most people when they lose their partners, because you feel very, 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 very lonely in the early days. And like I said, you don't know who you are anymore. 34 years with one person, even 10 years with one person, even 5 years with one person, you develop that closeness with them. You still become one. And even few months with a person, people have heartbreak after being 3 months with a person. So you can imagine, pain is pain. We can't say which pain is bigger and which pain is smaller. So never compare pain with anybody else. Please don't. Somebody said something to me that I thought was really hurtful, and I told her off. She said to me, "Oh, Nalanie, I'm so sorry you lost your husband." She said, "But you are actually luckier than me." And I looked at her and I thought, what is she saying? She said, "My husband left me, and I have to see him every day, so I have to exist in that pain all the time." And I said, "Don't you ever tell that to anybody who's lost a husband, because you have a chance of seeing that person laugh and live. I have no chance of seeing my husband's body in this earth ever again." I said, "Thank God you said it to me, but don't you say it to anybody else." Do you see? It's not people's faults. It's they really don't understand the depths of pain. So they understand their own pain when they go through something, but they don't understand your pain when you go through a loss of a life. That means there's no chance ever again, And so when you go through that, you actually become stronger in yourself, because now you really know that the yogic teachings, at least for me, and all the books I read on death and dying were brilliant, and it's true, and it's really quite exciting now, because one day we're all going to die. Yes, if I die first, he's going to suffer, and he dies first, I'm going to suffer. But you know what? It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. Do you agree? And if you get a second chance at it, go for it. Another thing that happens with people who die: guilt of being able to laugh and love again. Guilt. They feel guilty. They can't laugh. This woman came to me and she said, she was very close. She was very young. They worked together. They did everything together because they owned a business together, okay? So he passed and she was in this dark, dark, dark place. And she came after 6 months. I saw she had put on a lot of weight because I'd seen her before, and just comfort eating, bloated, gray face, exhausted, dark circles down to here. She walked into the room, so she told me she had lost her husband, which I had known 6 months prior. So I told her, guess what? I did too. It was about 2 years after I'd lost Shanky, and I was starting to talk to her, and she goes, "But you look happy." I said, "Yeah, I am happy." And she goes, "How can you be that way?" And I said, "How can I not be that way?" And she said, "But your husband died." I said, "Yes." And she says, "And you can smile?" And I said, "Yeah, so can you." So I said, "Smile." She thought it was so stupid what I said and what she was questioning me with, so she started smiling too. And then she admitted to me, she said, every time I smile, I feel guilty. And then I told her the story about the soul, and all that. And I said, okay, let me put it the other way. Let's say you died. And you are flying, and you've met some wonderful beings that you've known from previous lifetimes, and you're having a party up there with Lord Jesus and Gurudev and all these people. And and of course you love, your husband so much on earth, but you're longing to go to the other party because it's time for the other party. Yeah, you finished your work on this planet, you've got another planet to go. And I said, would you like to see your husband never smile? No. Of course I want him to smile. You want him to smile? Yeah, I want him to smile. So So why don't you smile for him? What do you think he's wanting? And then she goes, you really think so? And I said, yeah. She said, but is he, where is he? You know, it's the same thing. Is he just gone into the dark? Why didn't I dream of him? Why don't I see him? Same questions people ask, you know, why can't I see him? So I go, tell me some stories. It's been 6 months. I'm sure you must have had some hint from him. It's just that your mind is so dark that you don't see the truth. So then she goes, big smile on her face, and suddenly I saw a light come back into her eyes. I go, and I'm thinking in my head, thank you God, there's light. She's not going to commit suicide and kill herself. Great, I was so relieved, you know, because once you get the light back in your eyes, that means you're okay, you're going to get fine again, okay? It's when I see the dull gray eyes that worry me a lot. So anyway, she got the light back, and she said, you know, actually 3 weeks ago was my birthday, and every birthday my husband takes me out, and we go, you know, with my parents who live in Spain. So we go out in Spain because they live in Figueroa. We meet in Duquesa, and we go to a restaurant. And he always orders champagne and buys me roses. Okay? Oh, lovely. She said, you know, Nalanie, what happened to me? What happened to me? What happened to you? She said, well, I couldn't go to the same restaurant that we go in Duquesa, so my parents took me to another restaurant. And as soon as, we've never been to this restaurant before, so as soon as we walked in, the guy said, oh, your new clients, cover on the house. Never happens. Does it happen to you? Does somebody give you a bottle of cover first time you walk into a restaurant? They might do it for an old client, but not to a new client, right? She said, that was the champagne my husband always liked. Okay. Then during the dinner, she was thinking it, but she said, no, can't be, you know, drinking the champagne, can't be, I shouldn't be happy being with my parents, I shouldn't be enjoying my birthday. And then suddenly, you know, because they're singing happy birthday, the manager of the restaurant has some roses in the bar, you know, big bunch of roses in the bar. He takes out a couple of roses from the vase in the bar. Oh, happy birthday, it's your birthday today. She doesn't even know this manager of the restaurant. So she says to me, I didn't say anything. She says to me, was that my husband doing it all? And I said, you just answered your own question. She said, I thought so, but I didn't want to think so. Maybe I was making it up. I said, tell me, what are the chances of somebody giving you one, a bottle of champagne when you first go to a restaurant that you've never been to, two, giving you roses that your husband always gives. What are the chances of that happening? She said, probably zilch, 1 in a million. I said, yeah, so who was it? My husband. A big smile on her face. So I said, there's your sign. It's you're getting the signs, but you're not recognizing them because you're in that dark place. And now he's trying to get through to you that he can work through other people and get through to you, and you're not seeing it because you're like in I should be miserable zone. So I told her, pick yourself up. Do you have children? And she goes, yeah, I have a daughter. How's your daughter? Oh, she's really in a bad place. How can she be in a good place if the mom's in a bad place? Now, not only has she lost her dad, she's also lost her mom. Poor daughter. Poor daughter. She's lost both parents, right? And now she's the only child you have. She's going to go to university, like you said, but she doesn't want to go anymore because she's going to feel guilty. How can she leave mom like this? The whole future's disturbed. Why? Because you don't want to smile. So what do? I said, practice smiling. Smile and say, hi, darling. I can't see you, but I know you're there. Go be happy. Go be happy. Anyway, she did this practice, and she came here for a few months to all the Wednesday talks. And what happened with her as the weeks went past, it was really beautiful to watch. She started to lose her weight. She started to look young again. She started to look after herself again. She started to dress again. And you know what? She came for 6 or 7 months. She told me she was happy again. I said, how's your daughter? My daughter's going to university now. Thank God. How are you doing? You know, Nalanie, I feel the pain once in a while, but I want to live. I want to live. I don't know if she's moved to Figueroa because I haven't seen her since then. I think, and I never see her when I walk down on a Wednesday. So I believe maybe she moved to Spain with her parents. But She created a new life for herself, and by doing that, she's created a new life for her children, her daughter. She only had one daughter. There was another one who, she was English. Her husband had a publishing company. She's also allowed me to tell her story. And she was an orphan from a young age. She was brought up in an orphanage. And she met her husband from a very young age. And he was quite wealthy. And he had a publishing firm. And he looked after her and he loved her. So he was not only her husband, he was her mother and her father, because she never had a mother and father. So they had a wonderful life together. They had 2 children. He had some business here. He moved to Gibraltar for a year or so, whatever it was. And they had a lovely apartment in Queensway Quay. And they lived a lovely life till he was diagnosed with cancer. And it was a long journey, the 6 months. She was angry, she was fearful, she didn't know what to do. Anyway, when he died, you can imagine she went into a very, very black place. It was so black. She didn't get out of her pajamas for days. Her 2 children who were living in UK had to come, dress her, put clothes on her. And again, she went through this very dark, painful place. And when she came into my office, because somebody told her she'd been seeing a therapist, but she couldn't get over it. See Nalanie, I don't know who told her, because I didn't know her from Adam. I didn't even know she existed. Anyway, she came to the office, and we came to the conclusion that she lost everything that she had. But I told her, you haven't lost everything you had. You still have 2 gorgeous children, and he's left you a wonderful business, And I said, the thing is, you've never confronted death. And she said to me, you know what, Nalanie, I am so sorry. I said, what are you so sorry about? I was so angry with him because he was dying on me. And I never really said a proper goodbye. I should have told him how much I loved him. I should have said, thank you for looking after me. I never did that. No, I can never do that. Stop. So I put her down on my office, put her into deep relaxation, because she wasn't that way. Got her to relax. I said, okay, I want you to visualize your husband. I'm holding your hands, not scary, just hold my hand. So I held her hand, and she visualized the hospital room. We got her back to that last moments where her husband was in his deathbed. And I said, now, say goodbye to him the way you would have liked to. And of course the tears started rolling. I said, say it out loud. I need to hear it. He needs to hear it. He's here with you. Just say it. So she said it so beautifully. I'm sorry. I was so angry with you. You're the best thing that happened to my life. I love you. I really thank you for everything. I thank you. You see, the gratitude took over the darkness. The gratitude took over the darkness. Do you see what the medicine is? So anyway, after that deep relaxation, I didn't know what was going to happen to her. But she woke up, and she got out of it, and tears, sobbing, and she goes, he's here. He's not dead. She told me that. He's not dead. She said, Nalanie, I saw him on that bed, and he was smiling at me, and he was laughing at me. And so I said, now what do you have to do with your life? She said, I don't know. I said, educate yourself. So I gave her a few books, Embraced by the Light, Tibetan Book of Living and Dying, by Christine Yogic, another lovely one called Facing Death and Finding Hope. Gave her a whole list of books to read. Life After Life by Raymond Moody. And I said, read, educate yourself about death. So she did. So not only did she educate herself, she educated her children as she was learning. So this could diversify her mind a little bit. And she, the idea that she was spirit, she never understood before. She didn't have a religion. So now she understood, after the deep relaxation, the connection with her husband, that she was spirit. He was spirit. And one day the 2 spirits will join together. And so she She decided, you know what she did with her life? She actually went to London finally after she got the strength, and she took over her husband's business. She called me a few months later, long distance, to say, you know what? I know why now when my husband left me. I'd always been a housewife all my life. I've never done anything on my own. I've never run a business. He always gave me everything I wanted. For the first time in my life, I know who I am as a separate human being, and he wanted me to know that before I died. Wasn't that lovely? And she was running a whole business, this girl who'd never run a business in her life and was totally looked after. So you don't know what lessons we have to learn. We don't know. I don't know. I learned from these people. I can tell you 100 more stories, but our time is up. The most important thing is you train yourself when we talk about it openly like this. When it happens to you the next time, or when it happens to you, you are prepared. You know, you'll never be prepared for the pain. I will tell you that. But then when the pain is so bad, you'll know, I knew the pain. I heard it was so bad. I just have to go through it. Do you see? That's all it will do for you, but it will change you from being bitter and mean and horrible to somebody loving, kind, and compassionate in your pain, okay? But it is a big subject. People don't talk about it enough. We don't talk to people who are dying, about to die. And that's another last thing I'm going to finish with. Please, if you know anybody is dying and they're in a deathbed, what they always tell me, the families come and they keep saying, oh, you'll get better, you get better, you get better. And they tell me, I know I'm dying, but nobody wants to talk to me about my death. I need to talk about it. I need to talk about what's going to happen to me when I lose the body. So I do that job. It's not easy, by the way. It's really tough. So even though there's pain, there is a peace in the pain. That's all we can do.
There is a world apart from the one which we once knew. And from this other side I can see things clear and true. And if I could reach out, I'd touch you once again and make you understand there's no need to feel the pain. I wish I could explain that I'm with you every day, and there's no reason why you should cry your life away. Perhaps one day you'll see that I'm still right here with you. You'll wake up and suddenly you'll start your life anew. Give me a sign if you hear me. One little smile would reassure me. Reach for me and you'll feel. Call to me and you'll hear. I may have gone, but I'm still right here beside you. And wherever you go, let your happiness show. And remember, I love you. The night that I left you, you broke right down and cried. But I never really went away, I just came to the other side. Perhaps one day you'll see that I'm still right here with you. You'll wake up and suddenly you'll start your life anew. Give me a sign if you hear me. One little smile would reassure me. Reach for me and you will feel. Call to me and you will hear. I may have gone, but I'm still right here beside you. And wherever you go, let your happiness show. And remember, I love you. There'll be sunshine in the sky, and you'll feel the morning dew, and the birds that are singing everywhere are singing just for you. Till then I'll stay with you. I'll always be right here. You only had to call my name and your tears will disappear. I wish you happiness and hope one day you'll find another one to take my place and bring you peace of mind. Reach for me and you will feel. Call to me and you will hear. I may have gone, but I'm still right here beside you. And wherever you go, let your happiness show. And remember, I love